Somehow, I think this is actually the first Bumblebee figure I've ever reviewed. Huh. Hey guys, this is AwesomeJohn22 coming at you today with another Transformers review. I know it's been a while, several weeks in fact, since my last review, and I really did intend to get you guys an update video up letting you know why, but my camera continues to astonish me with how many problems it can have considering how new it is. I had to spend almost an entire week tweaking battery and settings and swapping out SD card after SD card just to get it to work right again. Still not sure what the problem was, but hey, it's working now. I'm not going to complain. I do make an assurance that from this point forward, even if I have to use my crappy cell phone camera, if there is going to be a delay in videos, I will let you guys know as soon as possible and give you some kind of timetable as to how long that's going to last. But alas, this time that didn't happen, and again, I apologize for that. My bad. Anyway, today we are continuing on my recent, or semi-recent, motif of looking at the new Transformers 4 Age of Extinction figures. Transformers 4 Age of Extinction is out in theaters now. I personally liked it. But I personally go in looking at the Transformers movies as Transformers action movies. That might have contributed to my acceptance of the film. Not sure, but it's possible. If you want to get a really good feel for how I feel about the movie, check out my blog, link in the description below, where I have a full text review on the subject. However, we are not here to talk about the movie today. We are here to talk about this guy. Age of Extinction, Deluxe Class, Bumblebee. And this is not the only Bumblebee we're going to get. Surprise, surprise. But only the first. As you can see, this Bumblebee has something in common with his stealth mode figures, which we have seen in the past from other lines, in that he is primarily black instead of yellow, at least in his vehicle mode. More yellow shows up in his robot mode here, as you can see, and quite frankly, I really like this Bumblebee figure, and I'm going to try very, very hard during the course of the review to show you guys why. But first, let's get this guy transformed up through the power of jump cuts. And here we have Bumblebee in his vehicle mode. It's a classic Camaro again, just like at the beginning of the first movie. However, it is a different model and year than the original movie classic Camaro, and it looks quite good. It looks very good, in fact. Aside from some pretty obvious paneling up here and in the roof of the car, it looks very, very nice. And a little bit of visible head syndrome under there. And I will freely admit that this mode is why I bought this figure and didn't just wait for the second release of Bumblebee from this line with the more updated body. I am a sucker for classic muscle cars. Not so much the Camaro, but I won't pass up a cool Camaro toy. Not sure what year or make or model this figure is supposed to be a representative of, but I quite like it. A little bit of scratch there, but that's my fault. That isn't a quality control issue or anything. You can see a good color black. It's not even quite black. It almost looks like really, really dark brown. Colors do, as I believe I mentioned earlier, kind of mirror the stealth mode Bumblebee, so I will be using that term quite a bit to refer to this figure, because he was kind of stealth mode, I guess, in the movie. Nice, very nice paint here, if it'll focus, with the yellow stripe. It looks very, very, very good painted on there. I wish that were not yellow, though. That bothers me a little bit. Pretty good back here, too. Very, very even. Very nice. Very nice. Again, if it'll focus. And I kind of wish there was a stripe along here to more emphasize the fact that he's Bumblebee, but still very cool, very cool. Autobot symbols. The doors technically do open, though all you see is robot bits in there. Overall, this guy, he looks good in this mode. Very, very good. Despite the fact that he is pretty much just the same Bumblebee we've always seen in terms of his in terms of the contents of the car and the transformation, which you'll see in a moment. No painted rims. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. That does bother me a little bit. There's all kinds of cool riveting and stuff in there, and I wish they were painted, but the wheels do roll very nicely. He is a very nicely designed figure. He's very, very cool. I really, really like him. I wish the windows were a little more opaque so you couldn't see all the robot stuff in there, but for the most part, very, very cool, and I could almost recommend this figure on this mode alone. Getting into the transformation, we're going to start by popping the doors open, and then coming up here and loosening these wheel bits and folding them into place like so. Next, we're going to lower this bit just a little bit to get out of the way, come back here, split this so that this section is freed up. Just kind of loosening things. You can see it separates from there. Next, we're going to come underneath. We are going to take this missile here and use it to kind of get up underneath this bit and just lift this whole section up. And that is his arms, as you can see. Bring them around like so. You can kind of see where the transformation is going, like I said. And despite the fact that I haven't done any other Bumblebee reviews, it doesn't mean I don't have other Bumblebee figures. As you can see, this transformation is very similar to past Bumblebees that we have gotten, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, so let's go ahead and continue. Next, we're going to kind of take these flaps and loosen them up, which will allow us to bring this whole section down like so, and split this chest piece so that these chest bits can be folded correctly. Bring his arms down into place like so, which is a little more difficult than it looks like. And, see already where we're going with this. My camera is just not focusing today. Next, we're going to take this section. If I can get it to, there we go. Now, let's bring this whole section up onto his back, and then collapse it in on itself, which would be a lot easier if I weren't behind a camera trying to do this. There we go. Collapses it on itself, and then just kind of folds up flush with his back like so, as you can see. And zoom back a little bit. Come down to his legs, bring his feet down, and you can see we've got a couple different options for this bit here. We can fold it up, which fills in the leg a little bit, but now this is just hanging out, so I like to just bring it down. I think it still looks perfectly fine. Bring his other foot down and straighten his feet out so that he can actually stand. Get his arms kind of posed up a little bit. Make sure these flaps are down. These flaps do pop up fairly regularly until you get everything into place, so be kind of careful of those. The connection points aren't super strong, and I'm pretty sure you can just pop them right back on there if they do come loose, but be careful nonetheless. And there we have Bumblebee in his robot mode. And here we have Bumblebee once again in his robot mode, and I really do like this robot mode. It's got this dynamic, big-chested, Superman-y kind of look to it. Very, very cool. A little Ghibli on the back, and as with a lot of Bumblebee figures, though you wouldn't know it from my reviews, because as I said earlier, this is, I believe, my first Bumblebee. He is a bit hollow in the back, though. The way his arms are positioned, you really have to search to find that flaw. He looks pretty good. I like him. He's got the wings, the door wings, and the way his transformation works out. His wheels, while his wings sit flush, do seem to move with the wings, which is kind of nifty. He's got a couple issues, though, I'm going to talk about. First of all, as seems to be the norm with these Age of Extinction figures, he has got all kinds of molded detail in there that suggests details of his past form from the previous movies, and yet none of it is picked out. We have some silver on the legs, but that's about it. The rest of this is just the molded plastic, and it's really, really disappointing. Despite the fact that I love the look of this figure, I'm finding it really hard to actually recommend the figure on the grounds that so much could have been done with this. So much. Look at all that detail down there, and look at the detail in his face. How much more clear the detail is in his face than, say, on his head itself or in his abdomen area. It just because it's painted, not even because the specific details are picked out, but because it's painted. Speaking of his head, by the way, very, very cool bright blue optics, and you can see standard Bumblebee designs. Now, the only thing I can think of here is they must have really wanted his vehicle mode to look good, so they saved up for that. And there is some really good painted detail in his vehicle mode. As I pointed out, the stripes look fantastic for one. But this is the mode that people are going to be displaying him in. This is the mode people are going to care about. And I have seen images of, I believe it's the Takara version of the second form of Bumblebee, and it does have better paint apps. It does look a bit better. So I do look forward to taking a look at that and seeing if it equals out to be the same for the version we'll get here eventually, because I'm not going to order it from overseas. It just occurs to me, I think his arms are actually painted. I don't know, what do you guys think? They look like they might be painted. If so, they look pretty good. I say that because they're the same color as his toesies, which are very clearly painted on yellow plastic. But yeah, like I mentioned before, or maybe I didn't, I don't honestly remember, no painted rims on his wheels even. That's just, it comes off as being kind of lazy, and despite the fact that I really like the look of him, I think that perceived laziness really detracts from what's great, or what could have been great, rather, about this figure. As with all Age of Extinction figures, this Bumblebee is a bit smaller than the figures we're used to from past lines. To show you what I mean, here is him next to what I believe is still the definitive version of movie Bumblebee. That is, I believe he was called the Battle Blades Bumblebee, because he has the little pop-out axe, though I could have just made that up completely off the top of my head. I honestly don't remember. He came out with the line that immediately succeeded the original Revenge of the Fallen line, if I'm not mistaken, the Hunt for Decepticons line. And he's a very, very cool figure. I will get to reviewing him eventually. I have customized mine a little bit up with some silver in the toes and some silver on his weapon, and I think I did a couple other things in a couple other places. But as you can see, these are very clearly meant to be the same Bumblebee, just at different stages of his character arc. You've got similar details. The rear of the car on the back of the legs, for example, the roof of the car on his back, and the wings with the wheels sitting in front of them. But this one has so much more to it, and this, I bring this in not just as a size comparison, but because, quite frankly, I think this guy's a little big, especially compared to recent figures. But as an example of how to do this right, he has the chest that folds. He has chest bits underneath here that fold up. His weapon folds up. He has a secondary weapon. He has a face mask. He has all kinds of picked out details. Look at that. So, so pretty. And yet, he is an older figure than this one. And as I said, they're clearly trying to save money, cut costs, and reapply it to different aspects of the line. And I can respect that. That's fine. But it really bothers me. And I'm not sure exactly why it bothers me. I'm not sure why it bothers me so much in the case of this specific figure. It really shouldn't, but for some reason it does. Maybe I just like Bumblebee more than I realize. Maybe I like classic muscle cars. Okay, I definitely like classic muscle cars. But for some reason, I just really wish they had focused more of their money and efforts on this figure, because I think it could have been really great had they done so. This guy has some pretty decent articulation. We have foot articulation. We have articulation here in the legs, but I don't count that because it's legs. We have knees, very, very high up knees. Almost so high that I don't count them either, which I do but it bothers me that they're so high. But it doesn't detract from the look of the figure, so it's okay. Rotates right above the knee, moves in and out at the hip, moves forward and back at the hip, of course. We've got shoulder hinges as well as these transformation hinges, and the shoulder hinges themselves aren't going to move. There we go, because they're on some pretty tight ratchets. Too tight, I think, really. They get in the way of posing the figure, rather. And then he has some more tight ratchets in his elbows, which are a little easier to deal with because you can get a grip on the upper and lower arm at the same time pretty easily. Rotates right above the elbow. No rotation in the wrist, however. Ball jointed head. Can do a full 360. And would have light piping if it weren't not for the painted optics, because you can see there is this clear plastic. And for the first time ever on my show, if I'm not mistaken, I am going to take a look at a missile firing gimmick. But first, I'm going to reattach this arm panel that just came loose beneath his weapon, which tends to happen quite a bit. I don't know if it's a quality control issue or if it's something that is a problem with this figure in the line as a whole. Just something to watch out for. It's not that big a deal, but something to watch out for kind of in general. Anyway, his weapon, it's just this little tiny engine blocky looking thing, and it has a missile in it, which you fire by pushing on the end, and it doesn't go super far, but it's appreciated. It's something, and without it the gun just looks like nothing, so gonna keep that in there. And again, this panel came loose, just slides right back on, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like glued in. I will grab some super glue and just dab at a couple of spots and re-glue it at some point, but like I said, it's not a huge deal, so I'm not super worried about it. And that's really it for this guy. He's cool. I mean, he's a cool figure. He looks good. Just in general, I like the stealth mode Bumblebee paint color scheme. I always have, which again, you guys might know had I ever reviewed a Bumblebee figure before. And you would think with all the Bumblebees floating around that I would have, but you know, I'm weird. Anyway, yeah, he's not great, but he's not bad. I would say really it depends on whether or not you like this look for Bumblebee more or less than what you might have seen of the new look for Bumblebee. Decide that, and then decide if you want and or need this figure for your collection. Once the new figure comes out, if you are the kind of person who, like me, prefers to only display one version of a character at a time, this one becomes a bit superfluous, because the second version of Bumblebee will be the more accurate one to his appearance in the series. So, in terms of recommendation, I say go with your gut. Really, that's how you should handle pretty much everything in your life. You know, you go with what you think is best. But yeah, anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description below, you will find a link to my collections video as well as to my blog. Check those out. If you see anything in that collections video that you would like me to review, let me know and I'll see what I can do. This has been AwesomeJohn22, and I will talk to you guys later.